Creamer Media's Mining Weekly Online is speaking to Philip Walter, the Executive Vice President of New Business Development and Innovation at Heraeus Precious Metals. Philip, can you speak to us today about this great breakthrough you've had with iridium thrifting?
Heraeus Precious Metals, I think, is dealing with precious metals for hundreds of years, and we are in the catalyst business for many decades as well. And we took up the challenge to come up with new iridium catalysts for PEM electrolyzers. So a proton exchange membrane electrolyzers, that's basically where iridium plays a significant role as a catalyst on the anode side. And what we did is we acknowledged very early that you need to be, on the one hand, more cost effective with these catalysts. And secondly, also, you need lower iridium containing catalysts to simply make PEM electrolysis work in the scale which is currently foreseen. So when we're talking about Europe, everybody probably has followed the news that there is a strategy which talks about 40 gigawatt of electrolyzer capacity until 2030. And when you think about iridium, the current generation 1 iridium-based catalysts, we are talking about iridium plaque. An iridium plaque, you'd use it, let's say, you have around 1 to 2 grams per kilowatt of iridium plaque when you're using generation 1 in these PEM electrolyzers. Now, when you think about 40 gigawatts, we have to acknowledge that there are other technologies too, but the advantage, like the alkaline electrolysis, but the advantage of the PEM electrolysis certainly is with the high current densities, as they happen simply in energy storage applications. So if you would assume, let's say, 50% of the overall PEM electrolyzer capacity would be PEM, we're talking about 20 gigawatt in 2030. With a catalyst of generation 1, we're talking about, let's say, 2 grams per kilowatt, means you're talking about 40 tons of iridium by 2030. And iridium, however, is the most scarce precious metal, which means the availability is limited. And if you trust the figures which are publicly known, it's about 8 to 10 metric tons a year, including iridium from recycling. So this simply shows the need to come up with low iridium catalysts. And this is actually what we did. We worked on ways to reduce the amount of iridium through catalyst technology. And we have come up with a new catalyst, which we call iridium oxo hydroxide on a carrier, titanium dioxide, which allows a manufacturer of PEM electrolyzers to reduce the iridium content to 0.3 to 0.4 grams per kilowatt. So, and if you do the math, we are talking about significantly less than 10 metric tons now until 2030, which makes simply PEM electrolysis a very good option for the future when it comes to energy storage and hydrogen generation. From the sources, we are pretty much bound on when it comes to iridium to South Africa and neighbor countries, and this will be the source for iridium. However, of course, recycling is pivotal to ensure a good supply of iridium, and simply you need recycling strategies to make sure that you can handle these a little bit special waste streams or recycling streams as they contain fluorine. We have developed technologies, and now we are in the midst of defining our recycling strategies with key stakeholders in the industry.
And could you just explain to me the role of that catalyst? What exactly does it do, and why do you say it's efficient?
Generally speaking, when you talk about electrolysis, you have 2 reactions. One is basically the hydrogen formation, and the other one is the oxygen generation, because when you have water, you have hydrogen and oxygen, and the oxygen, however, you also have to generate, otherwise the whole thing won't be efficient. And our catalyst is actually the catalyst for the oxygen generation, which happens in parallel to the hydrogen generation. And when you're more efficient here, you're more efficient in total with your PEM electrolyzer. And the role of this catalyst is simply to use significantly less iridium and having a higher performance compared to other systems.
And now you've got this green hydrogen, which means it's clean hydrogen. It's got no carbon footprint. What do you do with that?
The benefit of hydrogen is that you can use it in many applications. Of course, on the one hand, you use it to store energy. Secondly, you can use it to replace other already existing hydrogen applications. We are talking here about 8 million tons a year already. That's somehow a figure for the hydrogen production worldwide. And of course, you also have new applications when you think about the replacement of coke in steel manufacturing, or if you think about new ways of making chemicals, including synthetic fuels with a combination of by combining it with carbon dioxide, for example.
If I had to come back to you in 5 years, what do you imagine could be the situation with green hydrogen?
I think let's say in 5 years from now, we would be we probably will then reach the tipping point to really have a hydrogen economy. At least that's what I would expect. I think we won't be there to have a full hydrogen economy, but I think we would at least reach that tipping point where things are also cost-wise are getting more preferable, and it is a process. And I think we would be, as I said, just at this tipping point when we move into a real hydrogen economy.
And I just wanted a word on Heraeus in South Africa. We know it's very active here. Could you give us a word on what it does here for the auto industry with catalytic converters, and also the refinery that it has in South Africa?
Right. So I think you're absolutely right. Our site in South Africa is active in the automotive industry and some other industries, but mainly the automotive industry. And what we're doing is we are producing precious metal-based precursors for catalytic converters for the automotive industry. So basically, it's chemistry we do. We're not making the catalyst, but what we do is exactly these compounds you use to make the final catalyst. And we have a refining operations too, where we deal with refining of precious metals in a smaller scale in South Africa, but it's pretty well set up. And Friedhelm Averdung is our general manager, who's certainly well connected to the whole industry in South Africa.